Hi, everybody. How are you doing? And welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Joining me is Bronk in England. Anybody else want to join me? You know how to do it. Just you go. If you're on YouTube watching this, just go to the show description. There's a link there. You can click on it. You can actually argue with me if you're really into it. I don't know. I'm having a tough day today because my back is just unbelievably painful. So,
how painful is it?
Yeah. Getting old is just no fun, man. No fun at all. God almighty. Ask Russell Wilson.
God.
Yeah. So today we got some great examples of insanity to start the program. Because
which one are you gonna pick?
Oh my God, there's so much bizarre shit in today's timeline that I'm like, and I'm not even going to get into. I don't care what other teams do. I really don't.
I don't care what Cleveland does anymore.
I don't care about the Browns. I really don't. I really do care about the Cavaliers. Correct, I really do. Yes. And but yeah, we do this, and I made a switch as far as internet services. We're now fiber optic with Frontier instead of cable-based Spectrum. I was very displeased with their service.
Wow, 21st century broadband now, isn't it?
Well, I was broadband long before a lot of people were broadband when Verizon owned Fios, but they sold it back when to Frontier. And, and since then, the speeds kept going up and up and up. And Spectrum was throttling speeds, doing things that I thought were really not honest. And it was affecting the program because there would be ingestion problems and because of variable upload speeds and download speeds, and they were fucking around with stuff. And the service was going off, just going down constantly. I mean, it got to be to the point. I remember being up in Ohio and I would get notices that the internet was down here in Florida. It was like it would constantly come up. I don't get messages like that from Ohio, and it's Spectrum up there. Whatever it is about their infrastructure, it's very old down here in Florida. We're connected to a hub in Tampa that goes down more often than you can go ahead and you can put in your favorite whore.
Riley Reid.
Yeah.
Anymore?
Marco Rubio.
That
would be another one.
Well, yeah. I think it's all the hurricanes you guys get, hurricanes and tornadoes to rip the shreds out of the infrastructure. But
the infrastructure is really bad. I mean, because it deteriorates, and it's way, way better. Hi, Tony. It's way better having fiber optics because they're more resistant to the environment that way. How you doing, Calf?
What's going on, guys?
You
look a lot clearer. You look a lot clearer.
Do I?
Yeah, you actually do look a little clearer. I think the
you can see the birthmark you can see the mole on your inner nose there now.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's a mole right there.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you tilt your head a certain way, we can see your nose hairs.
All my flaws. It's funny because there is something in the studio right now that would allow me. This will tell you everything you need to know. You can smooth out your face. I'm not using that because I don't give a fuck what I look like, really.
Well, I think you should use some of that eyeliner that, like, the vice president wears.
But some of these big-titted women who are all over, social media, putting themselves up there, they'll do anything they can to look better. It's become a vanity thing, and it's really fake looking too. It's like somebody gave you an alien facelift. It's bizarre. Wow. At any rate, hello, Rich. How you doing? I'm happy that I'm off of Spectrum. Can't get off of it in Ohio, but at least I haven't had problems.
A long time, though, haven't you?
Say what?
You've been on the Spectrum a long time, though, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Let's start with just insanity. Former Major League Baseball slugger Mo Vaughn, remember him for the Red Sox?
Yep.
Confirms that he used
Daddy.
HGH late in his career. Like we
Late?
didn't know that back then. I mean, come
Late
on,
in his
Jim
career?
Tomey, come on forward. Come on. Everybody did. It was like dying to bronc. Everybody.
Everybody did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody died.
Yeah.
It is true.
You know, he was the MVP in 1995. He had HGH injected into his knee to extend his career. I was trying to do everything I could, Vaughn told The Athletic. I knew I had a bad degenerative knee. So did I. I was shooting HGH in my knee and my penis. In my knee. Whatever I could do to help the process.
And
Well,
just
you see-
beat Albert Bell, too.
Get a fucking knee replacement, and get on with your life. I think you made enough money, so stop it. It's but if that isn't enough, then there's this insanity. Former NFL star reveals he cheated drug tests throughout his 12-year career. That's exactly right, Rich. You're ahead of me on this. Yeah,
I mean,
what do you figure it was him?
Use their own?
What a piece of shit he was, Pac-Man Jones.
God
almighty. Yeah, so he never gave a proper urine sample to them throughout a 12-year career. They're really looking hard, aren't they? That's just incredible. And he said this on an appearance on Deion Sanders' weekly Tubi show called We Got Time Today. Well, I never stopped smoking. I've always smoked while I played, after I played, and now. I'm a high advocate of THC, Jones said. Look at me. I'm Sandra D. I can't play football anymore, so I'm going to say whatever fucking things that will try in some small way to draw some attention from the public.
Oh, I think I know where you're going now.
I don't know that I'm going anywhere, to tell you the truth.
Going to hell, maybe.
I think that's a given, Tony. Hey, truth shall set you free. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, the big. All right. Now this insanity from old people saying, "This is what I did to extend my career." Yeah. Here's the ultimate. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks on a 3-year, $100.5 million deal. How did Mr. Windshield Wiper on his forehead possibly go from being a piece of junk to an $100 million man?
Wow.
And you want to know the sad part about it is?
What is the sad part?
What is sad about it? Yeah.
By the way he played the last 2 weeks, he probably cost himself $40 million.
Oh, yeah. But it will tell you
more.
The lengths that these teams will go now, and because with all the gambling money that's running in and all the fixing in the league and all of the money that's pouring into the owners who are, just truthless pricks, they make so much money. They can spend so much money. Yeah. And then they can lie and fudge. I mean, just like they do on their taxes, folks. They fudge, all the statistics and, so that the cap limit gets, distorted in 14 different ways. And it's like, well, how is it possible they could have more money? Surprise!
If you're a Seahawks fan, it's like, hell yeah, we got rid of Geno Smith. Sam Darnold. Like, what the?
Yeah. Could you imagine? I can't imagine being a Seahawks fan anyway, because they've been as irrelevant as the Browns. But I mean, and Geno Smith was nothing. Let's be honest. Geno Smith is a quarterback who was a backup his whole life because he couldn't complete downfield throws and was a check down Charlie and never accomplished anything. And so the Seahawks we're going to take a big step up with Sam Darnold. And you've had every year that Sam Darnold was a sack of shit on the field.
Yeah.
And then you had 1 year.
1 year.
1 year where he was good.
Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, what is the norm? We gonna find out. And the insanity just keeps getting better, as David points out. It's like, the Aaron Rodgers thing wasn't bad enough. We're gonna bring Justin Fields to the Jets. We're gonna go from an old man who can't do it anymore, really, to a young man who's never proven he can do it.
Yeah, he's worse than Rodgers. God damn it. It's bad.
The worse keep getting worse. I mean, it's, and this is true. Teams are so desperate to get it done, they're willing to take a hope and a wing and a prayer for somebody like Sam Darnold or Justin Fields. Do you realize that the Steelers now are entertaining bringing Aaron Rodgers to Pittsburgh?
I didn't hear that. Wow.
Well, they got their wide receiver, from Seattle.
Oh, yeah. DK Metcalf, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to really make Sam Darnold very happy. It's like, welcome to Seattle in the Dome, loud fans, but you've got no receivers anymore. Hold on to the ball longer, Sam. Oh, my God.
You got to find an exercised helmet to fit his head.
And the Steelers got that other cornerback that's noted for hurting people. Darius Slay or whatever his name is.
Let's be honest about the whole NFL. It is rigged from top to bottom.
Yes.
And it makes sure that the same franchises move forward and the forgottens are forgotten. And that's why they're looking at Europe so hard. They want to hide the garbage.
Correct.
In Europe. And it's like, well, that's NFL weak sauce division,
The light division.
So, yeah. But I mean, $40 million for Justin Fields. I worked my whole fucking life. And this guy who, I mean, literally, he sees somebody coming at him and he shits his pants and he's got 40 million.
You got to do your
It's beyond that. It just shows that the owners and the same owners who would bitch about Deshaun Watson, well, what are you paying him that much money for?
Correct.
Oh, but look what they're doing. There's more insanity, though.
Oh, no, not more.
Yeah,
but wait, there's more.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if I were a fan of the Carolina Panthers, I'm not going to name anybody.
I don't know anybody who is.
No. They agreed to a 4-year extension with J.C. Horn. He will become the highest paid defensive back in NFL history. Well, that's going to make him a real contender, isn't it?
Wow.
I mean, well, I'll tell you, he's an island defender. What the fuck difference does it make if you can't move the ball down the field and score points? What does it matter?
Wow.
The thing that I love about all of this NFL insanity is that it's all about business, right? As far as J.C. Horn is concerned, the deal was negotiated by Trayvon Smith and David Mulugheta, and it's for $100 million and includes $70 guaranteed. Not $70, $70 million guaranteed. And it averages $25 million per season and could reach as much as $108 million with incentives. All right. The incentive is, I want to go from Charlotte to Canton.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll get to that in just a minute, folks. But it's just, he was the number 8 pick in the 2021 draft, and he earned his first Pro Bowl selection with a career high 68 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 interception for the Panthers this season. That's worth $100 million, don't you think? 68 tackles, 2 sacks, and 1 pick. Oh my God. JC is obviously the focal point of our defense, General Manager Dan Morgan said, and that's your fucking problem. If he's the focus of your defense, you've got no defense.
Good point.
It's no wonder you suck. And believe me, everything I'm saying about this, I would say about the Browns too. No matter what they do, they will always suck. And that's the way the NFL likes it. And they're going to make these other teams stronger. So they're going to get, the extra receiver with Pickens in the crazy motherfucker in Pittsburgh. And they'll go through 3 more offensive coordinators, and Tomlin will go out and tell people to injure people. But, all the way, the NFL's got that franchise's back. They always have. They always will. And you wonder, how come these teams aren't doing anything? Because the league isn't helping those teams. Hello? I wanted to tell you about something that I thought was very interesting. And this is not insanity. This is, well, maybe I'll save this for a little later in the show when I actually start talking about somebody who's winning in Cleveland. All right. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is emerging as a quarterback option for the Steelers, according to ESPN. Well, it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But, I hope that they can afford the wheelchair that comes with it. Then we have this insane headline from Cleveland.com from the amazing Ashley Bastock, who's realizing that you got to be absolute kiss ass to make it anywhere. Because if Mary Kay Cabbagehead can make it into the Hall of Fame of Northeast Ohio writers, well then,
and she has.
So can I. Nothing quite like learning the wrong way. Here's your headline. Browns expertly minimized drama to get Myles Garrett's blockbuster extension done.
What does that even mean?
Well, I mean, the Browns don't expertly do anything except lose.
What does that even mean? It means nothing.
Well, I mean, I purposely won't even delve into the article. First, I won't pay for it. And second of all, I don't care because the headline itself is pure insanity. They minimize the drama. That's all I've been reading on social media is Myles Garrett and the Browns. I mean, how did that minimize the drama? Oh, my God. And David seems to think that Tomlin is trying to save his job.
I don't know. Yeah.
It is. What can you do? Nobody wants to come to Cleveland, play football. Nobody does. And again, yeah, you see, and all she's doing is she's just trying to poke and prod because you know something? Nobody wants to poke her anymore. So she's going to poke people and try to irritate them. That's all she's doing. Man. She knows nothing. Nothing.
It's like she gone through the 100 list of free agents and found like all the quarterbacks and say, which one can I hype up here?
Yeah, how bad of a football team you got to be if Daniel Jones is your number?
Well, we are like crapping out this year. We're going to get 1 or 2 wins at the
most. And we've all been through it before, and we know it's coming.
Number 2.
Yeah, it's just, but I have this thing that bothers me, and besides my back, and I don't want to come off as being misogynistic, SAT word. I don't want to attack female broadcasters or journalists.
What about
when they're good at what they do? When they're good at what they do. But don't give me Doris Burke. I don't know. you hear her, and somebody said, you got to become a little bit more forceful, Doris, because we keep turning your mic down so people don't hear you. I don't know if you noticed this on the broadcast. You'll hear, you never have a problem hearing Mike Breen go bang. You never have a problem with that. And then she's like, just like the fucking Peanuts cartoon.
Wah, 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 wah.
Can't understand the fucking thing she's saying. And the one thing that she says, first of all, she went off on Isaac Okoro during the Cavs' victory against Boston. He has no business taking that shot. And I know that shot didn't make Kenny Atkinson happy.
Wow.
And it's like, okay. And then later in the game, she makes a comment and says, 111-year-old Al Horford. And I'm like, what did he ever do to you? What the fuck kind of a thing is that to say? Let's get some professionals in the business. If Doris fucking Burke can feel comfortable ripping on somebody like that, there's a real problem here.
Yeah.
There are women out there who would be fantastic announcers. But you know something? They don't have big tits and blonde hair. They don't want to work at Fox News. That's what the thing is. It isn't me who's misogynistic. I had female disc jockeys who were doing solo morning shows all the way back in the fucking 90s because she was good. She was good at what she did. Her name was Amy Manighetti. That was her name. She was good. We found her in Springfield, Illinois, and we brought her to Binghamton, New York, and she was really good. That's what it's about. It's about the quality. What incentive is there when some bimbo with the big hooters gets the gig and you're stuck? You can't even get on camera because the people are saying, oh, God, they don't want to see that. That's terrible. Terrible. And David's saying they might trade away Pickens. Who, to the loony bin? Who's going to want to take on that problem? Guy can catch the ball, but he is to odd behavior and violence, what Josh Gordon was to drug problems. He can't get away from it. And Jim, you're right. It's a weak class. It's no time to fuck up with the quarterback situation, but that's like the Browns and quarterback problems go hand in hand. They never had a good one. We fell into things, we fell into Bernie Kosar through the supplemental draft. You remember that? He wanted to play in Cleveland. And, as soon as Bill Belichick came to town, that was the end of Bernie Kosar. And he couldn't escape pass rushes. And he, now he's got, brain damage because of it. We had Brian Sipe, who wasn't even supposed to be the quarterback. Mike Phipps was supposed to be the quarterback, but Mike Phipps sucked. All right. He played at Purdue. And what more can I tell you? I wonder if that made him a chicken. That's chicken humor. See, Purdue.
Wow.
Okay. It wasn't so funny. I'm sorry. So, Sipe wasn't even supposed to play. He was a guy from San Diego State who was underarmed, but he was smart and he got the offense, and that was wonderful. But you look at the Browns historically, they don't have good quarterbacks. They just don't.
We never have.
And there's not that many to go around. You saw what they just gave the keys to the kingdom to in Buffalo to Allen. Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, it's like he didn't deserve this kind of money before, but he was that close. But you've always been that close. You missed field goal, Scotty Norwood. Jim Kelly. It's kind of like you've always been this close, but you never get over the hurdle. That's what being a Buffalo Bill Mafia member is. It's like sitting there at the anchor with your chicken wings and beer going, God, we were so close. But when you got a quarterback who's legit in the NFL, even if you're not winning the big game, because only one team can, you keep him and you pay him as much as you can pay him. Which brings us now to the Cleveland Browns. Because I'm going to make this short and sweet. All the people who've been screaming about Myles Garrett and about how Myles Garrett and his media tour, it was in bad taste and the fans were upset and pissed off because he went public and this and that. 8 years the guy's played. He's played hurt. He's played in every imaginable situation. He's played in playoff games, and he has played in 0-16. 1-15.
Misery.
Yeah, that's right. And 3-14 misery. And he's absolutely right. The team's going nowhere. But in the end, it's just a business. And it's what we all have to realize. I'm a supporter that football players should have the right to call their shot. And it's like, well, he was still contractually obligated and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, when they're walking him around in a wheelchair and he can't talk and he's got Lou Gehrig's disease, no one's going to care. No one's going to give a shit about that. He's got to make the best deal and put the pressure on where he can because the team certainly isn't doing anything at all to get better. And he knew it. So he calls him out. Now, the spin in the Cleveland media is that, the Browns handled this in an expert way. How? They paid him every cent and then more than what he wanted. And what will that one player do for Cleveland?
Not a lot.
The same that Nick Chubb did. Play until he's crippled.
Yeah.
You can't win with one guy. You can't have, that guy is an all-pro player, and then have a bunch of people on the field who are just El Succo. And that's the Browns. They don't have any depth in their roster. They have no wide receivers. And their special teams players look like they're out of casting from a Misfits movie. It's embarrassing. So,
Well,
and
I don't know whether you're going to say this, but I'll say it first.
Go ahead.
Maybe you weren't going to, but so $140 million for Garrett. Is that like extra money that we have to come up with to buy the dome with? I mean, you've got all this money to pay Myles Garrett, but you don't have enough money to build a dome.
No. What I'm going to say about that is business is business, and the fans, like usual, are taking management's side for God knows what reason. I have no idea why. Jimmy Haslam is a slug. He's a bum. He's a fucking liar. He's a thief. He's a loser. He's a loser in life. He's never won anything in his life. He's a guy who inherited something and never made it more. He just gets where he's going. And the people in the league said, let's send him to Cleveland as an owner because we don't like that place. And we want to make sure that little thing that we call the Browns that isn't really the real Browns, because we know who the real Browns are, because they were taken from us by the last corrupt owner that the Browns had back in the 90s. And this is what we're left with, this shit team. So we have a shit owner, and he's as cancerous as Daniel Snyder and will continue to be. You can't lose like this, like he is doing, year in, year out, without being so inept and repugnant. It's impossible. I mean, stop and take a look at the ups and downs of the Cleveland Cavaliers, or even the Cleveland Indians / Guardians. We had these great players and this great player at all, but they're gone now. But look what we got now, and we're still saying, wow, we got Jose. And it's like, and we we fought tooth and nail with the Yankees last year in the playoffs. It's like
Correct.
even the Dolans, who you hate.
Oh, I hate them. Yeah, definitely.
I mean you out there in viewers land. You know, it is. It's aggravating.
I'll join that group.
We can't get a power hitting outfielder or a power hitting third baseman. We can't. Well, we could move a second baseman to third base and call him a power hitting third baseman, and then we can get rid of
Oh boy, I have breaking news.
Breaking moves.
Oh yes.
The Philadelphia Eagles have traded quarterback Kenny Pickett to the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 fifth-round pick and quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
You're not serious.
Per Adam Schefter of ESPN.com.
I quit.
Verified account, not fake.
Oh.
Kenny Pickett is your fucking starting quarterback next year with a rookie as the backup.
I'm going to go with Cap and say this is true. Why not? Why not?
They'll draft a quarterback, and it'll be Kenny Pickett for the first 7 or 8 weeks, and then they'll switch over to probably.
But Kenny Pickett isn't a veteran quarterback.
He's not even a quarterback.
Why are they going for?
His hands aren't big enough to jerk off, and he's got a little dick.
What? Wow!
Wow, that's grim.
We might as well just.
And they gave up DTR.
Well,
wow,
DTR
that's like
nobody.
You might as well give up a Lego set or a box of Lincoln Logs.
He can't play at this level. He's not constructed
DTR.
For the game. But you know, we should lay back with our mouths open while we play the scat game and let the Steelers shit in our mouths. That's what we should do. God Almighty. Cast-offs. Kenny Pickett.
Well, we're definitely tanking. We are not winning more than 2 games. If we're playing Kenny Pickett, I mean
it's the final thing I'm going to say about the Browns because it just irritates me. So the one thing I can tell you, David. Yes, that was her real name. You think I would make up a name like Amy Meneghetti? That's really it. AMIE. Okay, if you're looking it up, he's
that's
a real
like
radio buff.
League.
I don't know what Amy's doing now. Nice girl, talented person. The business thing is Myles Garrett wanted assurance that the Browns were going to become better. Now we got Kenny Pickett. He didn't care. He wanted the money.
Well, good for him. He's going to be like he can swan around now with Joe Thomas when he retires, and they can both be the kings of England for the kings of Cleveland for the next 20 years. You know,
you fucking Pickett.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to get better, and the fact is, Myles Garrett isn't going to win the big game. No team was interested in paying him that much money. He's 29 years old, and the bottom line is, he's going to get injured. I guarantee you, next season, season, he's going to be injured in a substantial way.
Yeah, he's going to get rolled up by some offensive lineman or something, and that $140 million will probably buy about 10 sacks total. You know, we all know this.
Young Michael Corleone said about the press, how to handle the press, to write a story about how corrupt the police chief was. I don't know if you remember from Godfather 1. And he goes, well, we can't, the consigliere says, you can't do that, And he goes, why not? Why can't we do it? He's a corrupt guy and we have these journalists in our pockets. It's like, why can't we do it? He goes, it's just business. And that's it. It's just business. For Myles Garrett, it's just business. And for Jimmy Haslam, he wants to build a dome so he can accumulate more wealth because he can't win in football. Yep. It's just all about business. And if you're a fan of the Cleveland Browns, stop now. I don't want to read about it anymore. I don't want to hear from you idiots. I don't. You're all a bunch of stooges. They're never going to be good. And there's no reason, unless he's feeling women up or doing something horrible that the NFL has to move on him, Haslam is not going anywhere. And I honestly want him to lose because I detest him. I don't like people like him. It's just, so I'll throw you crumbs, let him eat cake. I'm going to throw you some crumbs. And, you got your Myles Garrett back. You could be happy now, and we're going 2-15. It's unbelievable. I've spoken enough about this team.
I think you have.
God. Let's talk about something that really matters. The Cleveland Cavaliers.
The seemingly helter-skelter Cleveland Cavaliers over the last weekend.
And there's David.
Have they lost?
Hey, Mo.
Hi, David.
The reason I bring up Amy Meneghetti is there's a reason for that. Because most of the people, when they're on radio, they don't use their real names. They use,
she did.
on stage
she
names.
did.
Yeah. So she was one of the rare ones, huh?
Yep.
And by the way, so the local gym I go to just had a grand opening, and they actually had Campy Russell here.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I like Campy. Yeah, Campy was on the show. He's a good fella.
We got a couple autographs from him.
Yeah, he's a good man. Always
Very
was
thin
a good
dude.
guy. Yeah, he was a hell of a basketball player at Michigan, boy. He was really good. Yeah, but I thought that, he was always a community liaison guy for the Cavaliers. And, we were fortunate to get him on the program, and just as nice a man as you could imagine, and unaffected. And, he played in an era in the NBA where he had to swallow Ted Stepien's racial undercurrent and get shipped away out of Cleveland because he was black and the owner wanted more white players. Do you remember that?
Probably not. That was before my time.
Bad owners do bad things. You know that he had Bill Laimbeer and he gave him away for a bag of peanuts? He didn't know a good white player when he saw one, let alone a really good black player. He didn't know because he's a dumb fucking owner. He was like Haslam. He's just stupid. It just doesn't get it. How can you say, well, what we're going to do is we're going after Kenny Pickett? That ought to satisfy the hometown fans.
I don't think he's going to be the starter.
It doesn't matter. He doesn't belong on the roster. Goodness gracious. So at any rate, the Cavaliers have a good owner. Now, and I've said over and over again in the past, Dan Gilbert, the way he did business at Rocket and, his companies, it wasn't my way. I don't like spying on employees and that kind of thing. He ruled with an iron fist. But man, when it comes to owning a sports franchise, he's all about winning. He's going to do what he can to make the team as good as possible. And they've had ups and downs like there was no tomorrow. They got that first pick to get LeBron, and they slowly, not really that slowly, became a very good basketball team. Then they lost him, and they went to hell. But then they rebuilt, and they got good young players, and then they got him back, and they won a championship, and then he left again. It's all about business, folks. Don't ever mistake. And you're all angry about LeBron. I can't believe Cleveland fans are angry with LeBron because he did the same thing that everybody in professional sports does because it's a business. And LeBron James has thrived in other areas with production companies. I mean, and investing in companies. He's done very well for himself. And he's a great basketball player to boot, and he won you a championship, so shut the fuck up.
Well, I mean, we can say good things for Dan Gilbert, but not for the Dolans.
They don't attract my ire nearly as much as what Haslam would, because Dolan is playing in a different situation. In the NFL, with all the money that teams have, if you had a decent team, you would be able to bring in good players. But honestly, it is so unfair the way Major League Baseball is structured that you're never going to be able to compete with teams like the Yankees and the big payroll teams. You're never gonna. So you're never going to get a whiff at those types of players. So you find an alternative strategy, and I give credit for the Dolans for at least saying we're going to focus on pitching and try to keep games close, and we're going to scratch out what we can with with hitters, opposite field hitters, guys who are doubles hitters, speed, stealing bases, or whatever. Got them to the American League Championship Series. At least they did that. Now, the Cavaliers are a little different because so many things that I've read that were crazy. Here's one of them. I was, and watching ESPN, and it's just unbelievable. And also what Mike Breen said, I'll bring that up first. Breen was going to televise the Lakers game when the Lakers had won 8 games in a row. And he said, the Lakers are the hottest team in the NBA right now. And I'm like,
yeah, I heard that.
Do you have, how many fingers you got, Mike? Can you count them?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. For God's sakes, you got to be kidding. And you have no credibility when you do something like that. Bang! That's me shooting him in the fucking head. That's what that is. God almighty. And then, and then there was this argument that Stephen A. Smith made. This is unbelievable. Kendrick Perkins says, I'm really picking that the Cavaliers are going to go to the finals, that they're going to win their division and the conference, and then they're going to go into the finals. Right? And Stephen A. Smith, no, I disagree with you. And you know why? And Perk says, look, they're going to go as far as Evan Mobley makes them go because they've got great players there, but he is an ascending player. And if he continues to ascend, the Cavs' future in the playoffs is going to really depend on his maturation. And I'll get back to Evan in just a moment. Stephen A. Smith says, well, I agree that, Mobley's been good, but you know how I know that the Cavaliers are not going to win against the Celtics? You're going to really die when you hear this.
How do you know?
Because they got DeAndre Hunter in, and that admitted to me that they didn't have enough to win.
That don't make no sense. That's the Chewbacca defense.
Yeah, it's like, and let me get this straight. So the Lakers got Luka, but that's okay. It's mind-numbing. Cavaliers are the best team in basketball, period. They're the best team. And here's how I know they're the best team.
I know.
They win on the road. Not only that, they go through, and all I heard was, Milwaukee was playing a back-to-back. Well, fuck you. We're in a 14-game winning streak, and we played 3 games in 4 days, including a couple of back-to-backs. Fuck you. Don't you understand? You're watching greatness here. You won't admit it, but it's out there and everyone can see it, and you're not going to be able to continue denying it. The Cavaliers are a fantastic basketball team. They're the best Cavaliers team that I have seen in my life.
I will agree with that 100%.
So, again, and I've been watching a long time, folks. And that's
Cleveland
one
Arena.
thing about having age and perspective is being able to say, we can compare these to the LeBron teams. We can compare these to the Miracle at Richfield, all of that. So To me, it's amazing that anybody could think that getting DeAndre Hunter was a sign of weakness.
Oh, that's insanity because we have not lost a game since acquiring DeAndre Hunter. We have not lost a single game.
Like I said, we're winning at home, we're winning on the road. But what absolutely convinced me is I keep talking about trap games and this and that, and the Cavaliers are starting slowly now.
Oh yeah,
You know, they're losing steam and momentum. They're barely getting by teams that they should be beating handily, and now they're going to Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's got all their players. They got Giannis, and I mean, they got Dame. They got their guys. They got Brook Lopez. They got all of them. There was nobody who was significant that was, now they were playing on the second day of a back-to-back like we have constantly since the All-Star break, because all teams,
everybody's doing it now.
Compacted schedule. So the way I knew was the way that the Cavaliers manhandled them.
Oh God,
they beat them with defense.
Yeah.
None of their players scored more than 17, 19 points. Donovan Mitchell only scored 15 points, and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Yeah, I think Strus was the top scorer.
Yep, 17 maybe. Yeah, 17 or 19 points. But they commanded the tempo, the pace of the game. And when that first quarter came out and the Cavaliers were just firing in threes to begin the game, and they scored a lot of points, both teams did the first quarter, then it cracked down into a real defensive battle because, Doc Rivers took one look at that and said, we're not going to be able to win. We're not going to be able to win this way. So we better go to the hard-nosed defense, and we're going to start shoving and pushing. Well, what did the Cavs do? They pushed and shoved back. And what did the officials do? Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
They allowed the game to be played.
It was like a playoff game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Bump and grind.
Beat the shit out of each other. Yeah.
Yep. And see who comes up alive. And everything they've been asking, in the national media, well, but are they the same Cavs that lose in the playoffs and they're not physical enough? You have your answer now. They beat the shit out of them.
Oh, God,
They quit. Doc Rivers quit with over 3 minutes left in the game. He fucking quit. His players were exhausted.
They were dead.
There was no spring left in their legs. And the Cavaliers just kept throwing a sea of bodies, but not just any bodies. These guys are good coming off the bench.
Yeah.
You got people coming off the bench who were better than starters on other teams. And the guys who are specialty players like Isaac Okoro. You didn't see Dame do shit in the fourth quarter, did you?
No, he did dick.
Yeah. And the reason? They brought him back in. There was a fresh Isaac Okoro in his face, and he was like, Dame's old. He's got old legs. The whole team there, Brook Lopez is old. Giannis is 29 on the verge of old. I mean, you look at their team, and it's like they're a has-been team. They have really some nice players, but their bench, as soon as the bench had to come in, the Cavaliers just got, separation. I mean, do you know how great it is to be able to play a team even and just say, well, the bench is going to come in and pull away?
Correct.
That's what a great team is. It's a full roster of people who contribute. And, you can talk all you want to talk about the Luka and LeBron together and all of that, and Austin Reeves and all that.
Yeah.
So after making the ignorant comment that they were the hottest team in basketball, the Lakers promptly lost, right?
Correct.
And they lost to Boston on national television.
And LeBron got hurt.
Yeah,
and LeBron got hurt. Unreal.
The other thing about the Cavs is I don't know whether somebody keeps track of this statistic, but at some point they're going to have a game where 8 or 9 or 10 guys get double figures in points. I mean, they came pretty close to it against the Bucks the other night. I mean, Sam Merrill had 9, Ty Jerome had 9, Dwayne Wade had 9, and then Struce, Mobley, Garland, Mitchell, and Allen all had over 10 points. I mean, at some point, that's going to happen, and that's the amazing thing about this team. And it's also a warning to anybody who gambles on these player props is that you don't know who's going to have the big game for the Cavs.
Who's going to go off?
If you're going to say that Donovan Mitchell is going to get 30 points, well, he might. He probably won't. If you're going to say Garland's going to get 20, well, he might, but he probably won't. If you're going to say Jerome's going to get 14, he might, but he might not. I mean, you do not know who is going to win the game for this team.
And how they're going to go about doing it, and when they're going to take over, and this one, they just really stayed ahead of the Bucks. Were playing their heart out, but they were outmanned. It was obvious they didn't have enough.
Yep.
And that's the team that behind Boston is probably getting the most talk, besides the Celtics and the Cavaliers. In the East.
They might have the most talent, pure talent, but they don't have, they don't have the full team.
And not only that, but they're older, and it becomes, there a lot of mileage on legs. And if you notice, the people who were shooting up threes, they weren't going in. The legs go, the threes don't go. The Cavaliers just kept pounding them. I'll tell you the other thing, the game before, when we had to really play our hearts out to beat the Charlotte Hornets. Hornets played a great defensive game.
Bridges had like about 50 points too, man. He was
awesome. I got to be honest with you. I thought their defense was tremendous, and I was glad to see that in their next game they were rewarded with a home win, because they played well, and really well enough to defeat the Cavaliers. They just couldn't, finish it off. But, the thing, they're down 106 to 103. And, Donovan Mitchell goes in for a kind of one of his flying layups, and it gets blocked by Diabate into the corner, and the ball's in Mobley's hands with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and he steps back behind the three and fires it in, man. And you want to talk about a dagger. It tied the game, but it broke the spirit of the other team. And I'm paying attention to what Cleveland broadcasters are saying, what the players are saying. Donovan Mitchell is the most talented of the bunch as far as being a flamboyant scorer. All right. He's a guy, he scored 71 points in a game, right?
Correct.
He's a guy who just has, that kind of explosive nature offensively. Darius Garland is a guy who can hit big shots and can set up an offense, and is undersized, but has proven that he's got a bigger heart than what people gave him credit for in the past. And then you've got Jared Allen, who's playing with a fucked up right hand, and he's still fighting and doing the things that he was accused of not doing last year, which he didn't do because he was playing for JB Bickerstaff, and nobody was putting out like they are this year, obviously. But through it all, the leader of the team is Evan Mobley. And this is being said by members of the team. Mobley is quiet. He's not an effervescent guy. He's not prone to hyperbole. He wears the same look on his face. And when he makes the three to tie that game at 106, just the casual gesture that I just made a three, and just that same enigmatic expression on his face, he expected it to go in.
Yeah.
Because he feels that he's destined to be a great NBA player. and the players see it in him. And we talked about Kevin Garnett, and Kevin Garnett couldn't handle the ball and shoot from behind the arc. And now this 23-year-old guy is coming around, and he's the best defensive guy in the NBA. I mean, you're watching Giannis double and triple pumping whenever he was around. I mean, he's got such long arms. He just swats everything out of the air. But he's the leader of the team. And that makes me feel great, because if it were Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, they're very, very emotional players. You can see the disgust in Donovan Mitchell when the shot's not dropping, or you can see the hangdog look every now and then from Darius Garland if somebody hits him in the face for the 41st time.
Oh, God, yeah.
You know, you can see that. But
Yeah.
Evan Mobley, you'd never know.
Yeah, he's a bit like Nick Chubb in that regard. You don't, quiet and assuming.
And the other thing is the bench brigade is led by Ty Jerome, who is a fiery player, but you'd never know it in his face. He's like an assassin.
Correct.
The guy just doesn't emote anything. He breaks your back, and you don't see any of the swag that a lot of these NBA players who are big scorers have. And he just does his job and finds ways to beat people, driving into the key where he has no reason to be, and hanging until he's half an inch from the ground and throwing it up and it goes in. I mean, and then outside hitting threes, using the backboard, banking off balance shots in, and stealing the basketball. He does all kinds of things that help the team. And he is the emotional leader of the bench bunch. And you want to talk about the other thing, and that's that DeAndre Hunter in the last two games had big plays that he made that contributed to wins, that were offensive rebounds and putbacks that were effort plays. And another enigmatic guy. He'd be a great poker player, DeAndre Hunter.
Oh, God, yeah.
He never expresses, there's nothing, except when he gets fouled and they don't call it. Then you see him just kind of shrug and kind of go like this. But then it's just that stone face. And he's always in the moment, and he's not scared to put up the shot. He's not a head case in any way. He doesn't want to be the star of the team. He is a contributing guy who helps the team win. And that getting him was huge, just huge.
Yeah, the great thing about this team as well is that we don't have any of these crybaby technical foul guys, like Trae Young or all these other guys that, that clown that got double T'd the other night, We don't have anybody that gets technical fouls, really. That acts up, that misbehaves in that regard.
Rich and I are the same. I'm not for this either. I wish Kenny Atkinson would stop doing that. I mean, you got to state your case. It's going to burn you once in a while, but
I don't know. It worked. We've won.
But we didn't win in the Charlotte game. They lost the game because a guy went rogue and made a second free throw when he was supposed to miss it, and then took an inbounds pass 10 feet from the baseline on the other end of the court and dribbled out the clock for us.
Yeah, that was like J.R. Smith. It was J.R. Smith like. But the other thing I want to bring up about the Celtics really quick. I mean, I'm looking at the stats in that game against the Lakers that they won 111 to 101. Tatum and Brown combined chucked up 53 shots.
Yep.
50 fucking 3 shots. So no wonder they had 40 points and 30 points, because anybody chucking up 53 shots, you'd expect them to get 70 points out of that. I mean,
If Pritchard and
They're
White,
ball hogs.
if Pritchard and White could score 40 points apiece like they did the one game, life would be a breeze. But the fact of the matter is that Pritchard is a good 3-point shooter in bunches, kind of like Sam Merrill.
Merrill, yeah, he's like a better Sam Merrill.
And
if you want to go that far,
right? But so that's what he does. And White, you have to be able to get the ball in your hands. And once they turn the ball over either to Brown or to Tatum,
they never see it.
They never see it come back. And I know that the Celtics are the favorites. They should be the favorites because they're the defending champion. They're not better than Cleveland, and they're not going to beat Cleveland in a fair matchup.
In a fair series where both teams have rest and they have 7 games.
And where if you're going to clear out with your front arm, both teams can do it. And I don't know if you saw there was a video online of Pritchard taking 4 steps to get behind the line in order to get a 3. And they didn't call anything. Yeah. That kind of shit has to stop. If that's going to happen, then nobody's going to beat the Celtics. But in a fairly, refereed game, their guys aren't good enough. Yeah, they're going to get pounded into submission over the course of a 7-game series. We're better than they are. We're younger than they are, and we have more energy and we have more depth. And the reason that the coach is putting up with this is that Missoula knows that those guys have to chuck up that many shots because what's it going to be? You're going to live with Al Horford chucking the ball up? What are you going to do?
Correct.
That's the way it's going to be.
Wow.
I guess Rich just found out.
That has happened. He's got gray hair, though. He's kind of pretty, Kenny. And he's got that Pittsburgh prettiness going on.
Oh, God, he picks his nose. Well, I've said everything I'm going to say. Cavaliers are the best team in the league. Don't let the national commentary say anything different. But let them keep saying what they're saying because the Cavaliers are very focused and playing very well. They play again tomorrow. They're back home, and that'll be fun. Were they playing the Brooklyn Nets? Is that what they're playing?
They are playing the Brooklyn Nets. Yes.
Yeah. So that'll be what, a 7 or 7:30 start.
God, with you guys changing the clocks, I would have to figure it out. But yeah, it's I think it's a 7:00 game Eastern time.
It'll be fun to watch, like they all are. And I got to get running because my back is screaming at me. But I gave you my full hour program because I take it for the team. You
take it for the team.
Yeah.
Wow. Cavs are 17.5-point favorites against the Nets.
Yeah, well, wow. I mean, and they were that much against the Hornets. You got to play every game. That's what it comes down to. And team's done well. I mean, the team's done well, and it's not always easy when you're on the road a lot and you're getting mashed into the schedule at the end of the season, like all the teams are. That
reminds me very quickly. I mean, did you see that Dallas Phoenix game where Dallas virtually ran out of players yesterday?
Yes, I mean 7 men. I mean,
pathetic,
and the guy had to come back in with a
concussion or whatever.
Yeah, I mean it was
like
nuts.
Herman Munster.
Yeah. So Tony, thanks for joining us, and Moose, thank you, and David, thank you, and thanks everybody for hanging out with me. And hey, the broadcast went well with fiber optics. I couldn't ask for anything more.
Thank you, Kenny Pickett. Woo!
No. God almighty. But we will be back on Friday to vomit in front of all of you when we hear more about how much they're paying Kenny Pickett. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you on Friday. Until then,
pay Kenny Pickett, but you can't pay for your dome.
Hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Boo.